Hi, everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Next Goal Wins. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. Next Goal Wins is Taika Waititi's latest movie. It's based on a true story about the American Samoa football club, soccer league, that had never scored a goal before 2011 when the movie takes place. It's also based on a documentary about the same subject. So as far as what I liked about the movie, Michael Fassbender as Thomas Rongen is great. I always like Michael Fassbender. I just watched him in The Killer, which I enjoyed as well. The very good, very interesting actor. I always like to see him on screen. He did a great job with this. I enjoyed it. I really like David Fane as Ace. He's probably my favorite character in the movie just because he's got such a nice, upbeat kind of personality. When he's like, all right, I'm going to yell at you guys now. You're not very good. Like, he's just very, very nice and sweet and wholesome. And I really like that. I also like Oscar Kightley as Tavita. Again, cool guy. At first, I kind of thought, oh, okay, I'm not going to like this guy. He's kind of like the hard ass. He's kind of the mean guy. But now he was also just a little sweetheart who had like 1,000 different jobs. And like, oh, that was very funny and very good. I really liked Kaimana as Jaya. Beulah Koale as Daru. Will Arnett shows up in here briefly as Alex Magnuson. I'm usually Will Arnett's kind of hit or miss for me. I don't love his voice too much, but I actually thought he was pretty good in this. I enjoyed him. And Rhys Darby is always funny as in this he plays Reese Marlin because he's got to play someone named Reese. But yeah, Rhys Darby always funny. I loved him in Flight of the Conchords and that Shipwrecked show, whatever it was called. He's great. He's always good. I like the score on this. It was done by Michael Giacchino, who was kind of hit or miss for me. I think he did a lot of Disney stuff, a lot of Pixar stuff like Up, Ratatouille, and Incredibles 2. He also did Doctor Strange and some of the Marvel stuff like Thor, Love and Thunder, which was also directed by Taika Waititi. It's weird. I think it's mostly because a couple years ago we were watching Incredibles 2 at like my sister's house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and the intro just kept playing over and over again, like the title credits, and we just got really annoyed by the music. I'm just like, this is really annoying. Granted, we heard it 10, 20 times in a row. Maybe that was why, but ever since then, I've always been like a little not so sure about him, but I like the music in this. I thought it was good, or the score rather. There's also some good music in here, including Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. Great song. I always like that song. It's always good to hear it in a movie. Don't know exactly how much it fit, in a movie set in 2010 while they're using an 80s song, but still, I like that song. Not going to complain. Cinematography on this was done by Lachlan Milne. He does a lot of Taika Waititi stuff like Hunt for the Wilder People. He also worked on Stranger Things, a couple episodes of that, so that's good. I really like the comedy in this. I thought it was really funny. It's very much Taika Waititi's style of humor, very similar to Hunt for the Wilder People or What We Do in the Shadows or any of those kind of movies. But yeah, the stuff about like there being a 20-mile-per-hour limit on the island, which I assume is probably true. And then the car chase, we're like, oh my God, this guy's going 35. He's going crazy. We got to catch him, Great stuff. Yeah, really funny, really good stuff. I really liked hearing and seeing all about American Samoa, a country I know very little about other than I think they're the first country to change the time because they're right next to the international date line. But yeah, I mean, I've heard of them. I'm aware of them, and I kind of know the difference between American Samoa and Samoa. Just finding out about these people, their culture, this little weird island where everyone has tons of jobs and gets along, but also they're all very nice and sweet and wholesome and I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I like that it's a feel-good movie. At the end, you kind of you feel happy about what happened. You're rooting for these people, and you really want them to just score that one goal. You're not even rooting for them to win or win a big championship. You're just rooting for them to literally score one goal, which is it's pretty funny. It's pretty hilarious. I like that it's in an underdog story. I think I'm not a sports guy. We were watching football games at my friend's house last night, and I was completely bored and almost falling asleep. But I love sports movies. I think I like all of them pretty much. I mean, Bad News Bears, Mighty Ducks, the Big Green, all of those movies. I even like Blue Chips and The Program. The Air Up There is a fun one with Kevin Bacon. Yeah, I think I just like sports movies, even though I don't like sports. Something about just the basic idea of usually these underdogs who have to kind of accomplish something, overcome these kind of great needs, and there's always a lot of kind of background stuff too. And I just really enjoyed it. And I liked that it was based on a true story. And I did sort of enjoy, or at least I appreciated, the reveal that his daughter had died because I didn't pick up on that the entire time because he kept listening to the messages and I'm like, wait, is just the service is bad, so he can't get a hold of her, so he keeps missing her calls or whatever. But when they finally revealed that what had happened, I'm like, oh, okay, that's I didn't see that coming. And even his wife is like, oh, it's been 2 years. I thought she was talking about the divorce, which I think they intentionally did. But yeah, I like that. As far as what I disliked about it, I like Taika Waititi. I think he's funny. I think he's mostly a good director, but I didn't like his character in this. He kind of starts the movie like, all right, this is a true story, but I changed some things or whatever. And then there's like a bit at the end where a post-credit scene where he tries to walk on water. It's fine, but like he's got kind of goofy fake teeth in and stuff. It was just a little too over the top for me, a little too broad, a little too like, I think it's also because it's the director, so I know he's kind of doing it himself. It's kind of a vanity kind of thing. I don't know. I didn't love that. I don't love Elisabeth Moss, mostly because she's a Scientologist, but also I would say she's normally a good actress. But even in this, I didn't think her acting was that great. And maybe it's because I don't like her personally. I hate Scientology. It's a terrible cult, and David Miscavige almost definitely murdered his wife. So it's always hard to see her and stuff, especially knowing that she like is on that Handmaid's Tale show where she's in a cult and she's also in real life in a cult, and like I don't know, it's just weird for me. Fassbender, I like Fassbender. I think he's a great actor. There were some comedic moments in this that I feel like he didn't quite nail. That maybe his delivery on some of the line readings could have been a little better, or his timing could have been a little different. I didn't like the religious stuff. I don't like religious stuff at all. It always pisses me off when they throw it in movies. In this case, it makes sense. It's cultural, and everyone I'm sure on the island is very religious, probably because missionaries forced them into Catholicism or whatever. But yeah, and I like that it wasn't too forced. It wasn't like a thing where he's an atheist and then he learns to believe in God or anything like that, which I thought they were going to go that way for a minute. But they didn't, and I'm glad they didn't. And also some of the handling of the transgender issues in this was a little weird for me. So the character Jaya is transgender. I believe she was born a man, but transitioned into a woman. And just the handling of it was a little awkward. Now, granted, the movie takes place in 2011, but there's this kind of thing where he's like, no, I'm going to call you Johnny. That's your name on the thing. And then she kind of pushes them down, and then they kind of they reach an understanding there. That's fine. I get what they're going for, but I feel like maybe they could have handled it a little bit different or a little bit better. So yeah, movie other than that is directed by Taika Waititi. He did Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder, also Jojo Rabbit, What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People. I liked all of those movies except for Thor Love and Thunder. Screenplay was by him and Iain Morris. Iain Morris worked on the TV show The Inbetweeners. He also did some episodes of Flight of the Conchords and Look Around You. Budget on this is $14 million, so not a huge budget by any means. I think box office it's made about 3.6 million so far, so not a lot of money, but it's probably not going. I don't think they intended this movie to be a big blockbuster to make a ton of money or anything like that. Rotten Tomatoes on this is a bit of a divide between the critics and audience. At least at the time I looked it up, critics were at 42% and audience is at 83%. So audience is liking this a lot more than the critics. It seems like from what I've read, the critics kind of maybe the sentimentality and the wholesomeness of it didn't quite come across to the critics as well as it did to the audience. It's based on a 2014 documentary with the same name, based on something that actually happened in, I think, 2011. It was actually shot in November of 2019, so shot a good 3-4 years ago now. Part of it, I sure had to do with COVID, but basically was shot before Thor, Love and Thunder. But also part of it had to do with the fact that Armie Hammer originally played the Will Arnett character, and they recast it because Armie Hammer came out with some kind of cannibalism and sexual assaults allegations that pretty much canceled his career. So they had to refilm all of that stuff. The actual Jaya herself actually did some stunts for her character in this, which is pretty cool. They talk about the whole Fa'afa'in, basically the transgender people there and how they sort of contribute to the culture, which is interesting to me. And I know there's a lot of native cultures that are like that. In the Philippines, I think there's several different types of gender, and there were Native American tribes that also had, that kind of thing. So it's always cool to see that there's sort of a historical context for this kind of thing that to some people appears to be more of a modern day issue. There is some stuff they changed about the movie. So for example, in the movie, there's a thing where Jaya is sort of having an issue with the hormones that she's taking and it's affecting her performance. They did happen in real life, but it didn't happen until 2015. So they kind of fudged with the timeline there a little bit like that. In real life, the Salapu, the goalie guy, had actually moved to Seattle at the time. He wasn't living on American Samoa, but everything else about him playing the game, and playing it all the time to beat Australia, all that stuff is true as far as I can tell. The stuff with his daughter is true. The guy actually did have an adopted daughter who died at like 20 years old, I think, in a car accident. But I guess I wasn't quite sure about the stuff with his wife. So in the movie, his wife is sort of dating Will Arnett's character, who was his boss. As far as I can tell, at least when I saw on Wikipedia, he's still married to that woman, Gail, it was her adopted daughters or her daughters that he adopted. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't even know if he was really an alcoholic or if they just added that in for the movie. And I like that. I actually thought that was funny, the way he's always constantly drinking. And again, I expected that to be like we got to deal with your alcoholism and you got to find Jesus. But no, it's not addressed. The guy's still an alcoholic at the end of it, as far as I can tell. But yeah, I don't even know if he was actually really an alcoholic in real life or not, or if they just made that up for the movie. So as far as my score on this movie goes, I did like it. I thought it was really funny, really good. It very much delivered what I expected, which was Taika Waititi doing a Mighty Ducks, Bad News Bears style movie. I do think it's very funny, especially kind of the beginning and in the middle there. But toward the end, the humor kind of lagged for me or didn't quite work as much. Maybe there's just not quite as much humor. Maybe it just wasn't quite as funny to me. And anytime there's a story where they change stuff always bothers me a little bit. And I do think that, I don't know, some of the stuff is a little too goofy, especially the stuff with Taika Waititi was just a bit much for me. So yeah, I think my score on this is going to be a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good movie. I don't know if it's a great movie. It's definitely something worth watching if it comes up on Netflix or Hulu or whatever streaming service, but maybe not something that, you really need to go to the theater to see. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I will see you here again next week.